Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all able to find me and hop over to this live since my other one, as usual, is not cooperating. I don't know what is up with YouTube lately that it doesn't want to let me do my streams easily. Doesn't like to let me schedule. So it's a pain. Hello, Lisa. I'm glad you found me. I'm gonna wait a little bit and try to let everybody get in here. I'm not showing my face today for the main fact that I want you to see my hands and see what I'm doing as far as the crochet stitch for the trio blanket. So because of that, I don't have a fancy setup where I can do a split screen and have my face in part of it and my hands in the other part. So we just have to do it this way and show you my hands. So, and I will do my very best to keep my hands in the camera. Good morning, Melissa. Hey, Bibi, it's nice to see you here. The way I've got my camera set up, I bought a neck thing that I can attach my camera, and it's really good as far as, you know, obviously I can use it to show my hands and everything, but I notice every time I breathe, the camera moves. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to stop that since, yeah, I really don't want to stop breathing at the moment. So I hope you guys can put up with the camera moving now and then. And it hopefully doesn't sound like Darth Vader in the background with me breathing on camera. So is anybody crocheting anything fun? Tell me what y'all got on your hooks. Hello, Sharon. How are you doing? Knitting a cabled blanket and have a shawl on your hook. Oh, wow. Which shawl are you doing, Sharon? Or are you just making one of your own? Hello, Beth. Nice to see you here. I had to rush outside, take the dog out back, but then he decided he didn't want to stay out back, so I took him back out front. Then I ran in the kitchen and started a pot of chickpeas in the Instant Pot. I'll tell you what, the Instant Pot is the best thing in the world for cooking chickpeas. What I do is I put a pot in for 45 minutes and then let it do a natural release. So it ends up taking about 45 minutes, or I'm sorry, an hour and a half total. And it makes the best chickpeas that way. And a whole lot quicker than cooking them on the stove. Hey, Lana, thank you for coming in. For some reason, it is not showing you as my mod. Here we go, add as moderator. There, you should have a blue dress now, Lana. Okay, well, I think, yep, you got a blue dress. Yay! I think at this point, I probably have enough of you in here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Anybody that pops in later will have to catch up from there. So, first of all, I'm going to show you the yarns that I'm going to be using for this project. And if I can get away far enough, these are my 3 colors, my 3 cakes that I'm going to be using. I don't know how many cakes total it's going to take me. These are fairly small cakes, so it may take me more than the last one did, but I do want to make a fairly good sized blanket, so I will just use what I have to use, and if it takes all of it, that's just fine. That's what I bought it for. Hey, Marianne, thanks for coming in. And then this yarn is a 4-weight yarn. Get it back down on camera. It is a 4-weight yarn. It's kind of got a fuzz to it, and believe me, I did a little swatch earlier with it, and it wasn't fun to pull back out again. So once I get this swatch done, it's done. I'm not going to try to pull it out again. And then I'm going to use my clover hook, which is a size J. And of course, anybody that knows me knows that clover hooks are my faves. So, all right. So, if anybody's following along, go ahead and grab your hook, grab your yarn, and let's get started. So I do not do my stitch pattern exactly like it's written on the Felted Button blog. I found another way to do it that to me just seems a little simpler. So I will give you the stitch count, or the stitch multiples. And basically it is a multiple of 6 stitches. So when you do your chains, you basically just want to do a multiple of 6. So I'm going to start the swatch with 30 chains. So let me go ahead and do that. I have been doing Afghan stitch for so long now that it's almost hard for me to switch back to regular crochet. Okay, darn it. Okay, so I do believe I've got 30 at this point. Let me just do a quick count and see. Okay, so I do have my 30. Try and get this camera fixed so it keeps me in focus or in frame. All right, so once you have your chain done, which is, as I said, multiple of 6 stitches, you'll basically want to start out by doing a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So we will go in 1, 2, 3, and here is number 4. Now in this pattern, that chain 3 is counting as your first double crochet. And then you will do another double crochet in the next chain. All right, come on. Trying to go back under the back bump. I've gotten to like that way of doing a foundation row. So at this point we have our first block of 3 double crochets. Then we are going to chain 3, skip 3 chains, and in the next chain we will start our next block of 3 double crochets. Is there enough light on my hands, or do I need to turn on my ring light? I'm just wondering. Is that better, do you think? So this is very simple. We're just going to keep doing blocks of 3 double crochet, chain 3, skip 3 on our foundation chain, and keep working those blocks all the way to the end of our chain. So anybody who has done a block stitch before probably will find this somewhat familiar, but the way that this is done does make it a little different. You can also find this stitch called the buffalo check or buffalo plaid. I've seen it. My camera is not wanting to focus. Focus, focus. Working while cleaning. Yuck. Cleaning should be outlawed. But then we'd be all living in really dirty houses, wouldn't we? And for some reason, oh, okay, what did I do? Okay, I guess I did it right. Okay, I'm going to end this with this last double crochet here. For some reason, I ended up with a few too many chains. So on your very last double crochet of your row, you do not want to finish out the stitch, because this is where we are going to change colors. So I'm just going to drop this yarn, and just make sure when you drop it, get it kind of off to the side and out of your way, because you don't want to pick it up and have it running behind your stitches or get caught in your stitches or anything like that. And now I'm just going to go ahead and start my new color. And normally a lot of patterns will call for you to, well, actually this one. So on this one, because we ended with the double crochet block, we're going to just chain 3 and then turn. And you are going to skip those first 3 double crochet and go to your space, and down here on the foundation chain you have those 3 empty chains. So what you're going to do is go down and crochet into those 3 empty chains, and you're going to catch, if you can see, you're going to catch your chains that you did on the previous row. You want to catch them inside of your double crochet stitch. And that's going to be way too loose. So when you get to actually, once you get past the foundation part of this, your rows are only going to grow in height by about the size of a half double crochet rather than a full double crochet, because you're going down into the stitches below rather than just right along the top. I hate foundation rows. Anyway, so there's that 3. We've got our chain stitch. As you can see, the chain is captured inside those double crochet. Then you chain 3 and you go to your next empty block. And once again, you do the same thing and double crochet around. Ugh. I'm wearing my glasses so that I can try to see the chat, but it also makes it harder for me to see my crocheting. My arms aren't long enough to be able to hold my crochet far away enough to actually see it. Now, what did I do? Okay, I may have, only skipped 2 there, which would stand to reason why I'd come out with extra chains at the end. Yep, I think that's what I did. I'm not taking it out. I'm going to fudge it and just do 2 double crochets in one of those empty chains because I don't feel like frogging. Don't be like Margaret. Or be like Margaret. If you want to fudge stuff, knock yourself out. I don't blame you a bit. And then you chain 3 once again and go to your next empty space and work your 3 double crochets. Yeah, I'm having to look over my glasses here. This is just crazy. All right, chain 3. Go to your next empty space. Hello, Steven. Hello, Sonia. Thanks for coming in. Glad you found us, Steven. And this will be our last block for this row. All right, come on, cooperate. Once you get these 2 foundation rows done, it gets a lot easier because you will be working into double crochet stitches. Now, here you go ahead and you do 2 chains at the end of this row. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and pull up my 3rd color. And I'm going to go into this chain stitch on that initial block on the foundation row, and I will pull up my 3rd color through that and then through the yellow. And you'll want to go ahead and get your yellow out of your way. Now, normally at this point, a lot of patterns will call for you to do a chain 3 as your initial double crochet. I am not fond of chain 3s, so what I do instead is I do 1 chain and go ahead and turn, and then I'm going to work into that first stitch where I pulled up the blue from. I'm going to work a double crochet there. Then I'm going to go back into this double crochet and work a 2nd double crochet, which makes a stacked double crochet, which basically is about the same height as doing 3 chains. And then I will go ahead and work my next 2 double crochets right over the yellow, just like we did in the previous row. And then we will just keep repeating, doing our double crochets and chain 3s So here we've got a block of 3 double crochet, so we know that that's where we need to do a chain 3. Then on the next chain 3 space, we crochet double crochets down into that green row. This is why I think it's a good idea to, even if you do use solid colors, it's a good idea to use definitely 3 different colors, because you can see much easier where you need to change back and forth between the blocks and the chain stitches. Also, I love this pattern because you do not have to cut off your yarn at every row. Basically, you're just dropping one color and picking up the next. And you can't get your next color confused, because what's going to happen is that color that you need to pick up for your next row is going to be waiting for you down here at the end of this row. So once you do all your blue blocks, you just basically pick up the next color that's sitting there waiting for you, which will be our green. So you don't finish out the whole double crochet. And as you can see, here we have our green yarn sitting here waiting for us. So we make sure we have our blue yarn well out of the way off to the side, and pick up our green and finish out that double crochet. And then we are going to go ahead and chain 3. Turn your work, and now we will start going back down the row, doing double crochets over our chain from the previous row and working into our double crochets, basically 2 rows below. And actually, I think I worked into a chain rather than a double crochet there. Now, I will say that at some point, you're going to have to stop and unbraid your yarn, because doing all these turns and everything, your yarn is going to end up braiding itself together down here, and you'll want to stop and untangle it once in a while. I don't know if any of you remember last fall when Amber and I joined up with Kim Fortune and did the Bring Your Own Block for the block party. I did do this as a tutorial for that block party. Unfortunately, the video quality was not very good. Hopefully this one will be better, so that if you do want to try this, it'll be much easier for you to see. And I've got a knot in my yarn. I love it. Hey Camille, good morning. Glad to see you here. And so we are back down to the end of our row. So at this point, we will go ahead and chain 2 and go into the top of that stacked single crochet. We're going to drop this yarn and pull up our yellow, which is sitting there waiting for us. And chain 1. I like to pull that a little on the tight side so that I can go back in here and do a single crochet. So I'm going to single crochet right back into that same stitch that I pulled the yellow through. Oops, that's a little too loose. And do 1, and then single crochet right back into that same single crochet stitch for a second one. And then complete that block, working over the green chains with 2 more double crochet. Okay, and at this point I do need to stop and unbraid my yarn a little bit because it is getting a little tangled. I think I've got it, yeah. Okay. So we've got our first block, and then we chain 3. Then we go over and work into that blue block, doing 3 double crochets right over that chain in the row below. And you just continue working double crochets and chains right across the row. So this stitch is super easy. Basically, when you do it, if you end a row with 3 chains, you'll know that your next row, you're going to start with a block of 3 double crochets. If you end a row with double crochets, like this row, you'll end your row with 2 chains and then pick up your new color as your 3rd chain. And basically that is the stitch repeat for the entire blanket. And you do not have to cut your yarn until you are finished with the entire blanket. Yeah, Camille, I can't wait to see them change. I think it's going to be really pretty. So, at this point, I think we have a big enough swatch to call it good, and I am going to cut this one off and start the actual blanket. So at this point, I need to figure out just how big I do want to make this. And since I don't have scissors right close by, a pair of fingernail clippers works in a pinch. I hope. Ooh, these are some dull clippers. I guess not. I've got a razor blade close by, and it's dull too. Now, when you're working a blanket and you do end up with your tails at the end, you can deal with them however you choose to. You can tie them off and weave them back in, or I always do a border on blankets. I just don't feel like most blankets, I feel like they're not really finished unless they have a border. On this particular blanket, I think a border is kind of important because it does hide where you've carried your other colored yarn up the sides. So I think that helps to, give it a more finished look. So that is the initial swatch for my blanket. So now I am going to go ahead and figure out just how many chains I want to do to make an actual blanket. So I think I will keep the same color pattern. I kind of like how that's working up. So I'm going to start out with my multiple of 6. Lana, I want to make it large enough to cover the top of my bed. I want to use this as a blanket this winter, so it's going to be fairly big. Does anybody have any questions for me? The price of tea in China. Marianne, I have no earthly idea. That is one that I can't help you with. You might have to ask the Google. Okay, I think I've got it just about wide enough. Good morning, Lori. Thanks for making it in. I appreciate you. Okay. Lori and Camille, since you guys did kind of miss the beginning of the swatch, you'll be able to see how the first two rows go, to kind of set up for that, for the stitch. So, so basically, like I said, it is a multiple of 6 stitches. And once you get your multiple of 6 chained, then you go into your 4th chain from the hook. That first 3 chains will count as your first double crochet. And I'm just going to go ahead, I'm not going to try and work the back loop this time. I'm just going to go ahead and work into the chain like I normally do. So double crochet into that 4th chain, and then do another double crochet. Camille, did the hubby take the day off? So then once you do your first 3, oh good, he needs the rest. That's awesome. So once you do your first 3 double crochet, you chain 3, skip 3 on your chain below, and then you'd work another block of 3 double crochets. Chain 3, skip 3, and work your next block. And you'll basically just repeat this. Excuse me while I pull out some yarn. Basically just repeat this all the way down the chain. And really it's only this first 2 rows that are a little fiddly, just because working over this chain and back down into this chain for your next color, it's just a little fiddly. But once you get past that, you're good to go. And this blanket really can fly, you know, because you're just doing the 3 double crochets and then the chain 3s, it moves really quick. It's almost like doing a moss stitch. I think when I made my first trio blanket, it probably took me, I think it probably took me less than 2 weeks to do an entire blanket. And it was not a small blanket by any means. It was big enough to cover 2 people sitting on my love seat side by side. That's kind of what I made it with the intentions of, because I had made it originally made it for my sister, for her and her hubby, so they could hang out on the couch on movie night and cuddle up. But my sister decided she really didn't like it that well. Thanks, Val. And she wanted one made with brighter colors. And I ended up doing something totally different instead of the trio blanket for her. The trio blanket ended up going to Tunisia. At the time when I finished it, my hubby was making a trip home, and he was taking gifts for the family, of course. One thing that's really popular to take over there is blue jeans and t-shirts and stuff, because apparently blue jeans are not cheap over there. So they're always real happy when they can get new blue jeans. Of course, Shokri's mom does not wear blue jeans, so she wouldn't be interested in that. But she is a crocheter, and she was just thrilled to get that blanket. And also, Shokri's sister tried to steal it from her. So, and somewhere here in the house hiding, I do have a second one that is unfinished, that is made with basically the same exact yarn as I made the first one with. So one of these days, when I manage to dig through all my boxes down in the basement, I'm hoping that I can find it and finish it. In terms of being a yarn eater, not really that bad, Lori, because think of it about like, I mean, you know that double crochet is, one of the lesser yarn eating stitches. But now you have to think of it in terms of only growing about, because you're stitching in the row down below instead of in the tops of your double crochets. So instead of growing the height of a regular double crochet, each row is only growing about the height of a half double. But so as far as being a yarn eater, it will probably eat yarn about like a half double crochet. Like I said, I believe I used 6 cakes. They were the sweet roll cakes. I used 6 cakes, I believe, on that blanket that I made. And yeah, it turned out quite big. So now these cakes here, I think, are a bit smaller. Well, I know they're a bit smaller than those sweet roll cakes were. So I imagine I'll use up more of the cakes. But since I bought the yarn to make this blanket, I don't care if I use them all up on it or not. Yeah, Camille, it is. It's quite fast. And like I said, once you get past the first 2 fiddly rows, it really does fly. Hey, Amber. Well, Amber, I am just starting the first row of the actual blanket. If you want to go back to the beginning when you get home and take a look at the swatch, that'll show you how I start. Yeah, speedy without eating too much yarn is always a good thing. Can y'all decipher this with me being a lefty? I've had complaints before from people that are right-handed that they don't get it because of my left-handed crochet. All right, come on. Well, you know what, Camille? I agree because there are actually a lot of us that are left-handed crocheters. And, I mean, I have no problem watching right-handed tutorials, but I really do appreciate the few channels that do put out left-handed tutorials, um, because it's just so much easier for me to catch on to it. But I mean, I've been crocheting in a right-handed world for all the time that I've been crocheting, so you know, it really doesn't bother me either way. Just another stitch. Connie, is that right? Yeah, okay, Connie. Glad to know I remembered it. Yeah, Marianne, I don't, like I said, I don't have any problem using right-handed tutorials. I mean, most tutorials are right-handed. Um, there are just the very few of us that do put out left-handed crochet content. I really do appreciate Michael at MDL for putting out left-handed Tunisian content, um, because Tunisian, I'm afraid, probably would be a little harder for me to catch on to trying to work from a right-handed tutorial. But for regular crochet, I have no problem working from right-handed. I skip one extra. Well, Connie, it's kind of funny. When I learned how to crochet, I was lucky enough that my mother was my teacher, and she figured out that sitting me down in front of her and having me mirror her movements rather than sitting down beside her and, trying to copy her, um, really worked. I mean, it was awesome. I learned how to crochet really fast learning from her and learning in that technique. And since then, I've recommended to a lot of left-handed people and right-handed people that wanted to teach left-handed people that is the way to teach a left-handed person to crochet. Um, and being fairly young kid when I was learning to crochet. At that time, I was very left-handed. I was not switching back and forth between right and left pretty much for anything. So, learning to crochet left-handed was a big help. Now, later on in life, there are other things that I do right-handed. For instance, playing the guitar. I play guitar right-handed, but that's because that's how our guitar was strung, for one thing. If I tried to switch it over and play it left-handed, I'd have been playing it with the strings upside down. And also, everybody that was around me that played guitar were left-handed players. So when I copied them and learned how to play right-handed. And I've never had, even though my finger dexterity, I think, is a little better if I had learned to play left-handed, but I mean, I don't play professionally or anything like that, so I don't really worry about being, the ultimate guitar player. I mainly learned how to play guitar to accompany myself when I sing. So I'm not as worried about how well I play the guitar. They're putting out. Ugh, you gotta be kidding. It's too early for Christmas. At least wait till after my birthday. At least it's not August and they're putting out Christmas. I mean, okay, almost to the end of this first row. Yay. Don't cats always think they're part of the decor? I think that's just part of being a cat. I watched a hilarious short last night of cats begging to go outside right after it snowed for the first time and their reactions. It was one of the funniest videos I have seen in a long time. Hello, Linda. Welcome in. Nice to see you. Prepping veggies for your roast for dinner later. Yum. I do love a roast. I put on a pot of chickpeas at my hubby's request. So now my house smells like chickpeas and spices. Okay, so I'm going to make this one my last block because I don't have enough to do a chain 3 and a whole nother block. So I must not have been counting very carefully when I was doing this. So I am going to go ahead and switch to my next color, which I'm going to continue on like I did with the swatch and do the yellow, and they call it red, but I call this more of a pink than a red. It's coming coming across almost red on the camera, but it's actually kind of a rose pink. It's pretty. I'm not a big pink person, but it's pretty. So, like I said, when you get down to your last block, you try and get the camera to focus again. On your last double crochet of your last block of the row, you'll just go through your initial 2 loops, you know, the standard color change. Go through the 2 loops, pick up your new color, and pull it through to finish your stitch. And you want to make sure when you turn your work that you keep your first color well out to the side so that you're not catching it and taking it back with you across the row. You'll be real disappointed if you do, because it won't be waiting for you the next time that you need it when you get back down to this end. So, because we ended our previous row with a block, we're going to start this row with a chain 3. Then we turn and we skip over those double crochets and go right down into the chain stitch, our foundation chain stitch, and work our block of 3 double crochets. And we want to make sure that we are capturing those chains, those 3 chains, inside our double crochet. Icy's getting restless. I don't know. I think somebody's next door mowing the lawn. I think that might be why he's pacing. He's watching what's going on. Icy's so funny. He knows who belongs in this neighborhood and who doesn't, and he keeps a really good eye on the neighborhood. So, as you can see, there's my next block, and that chain doesn't show on either side of the blanket. And then you do your chain 3 and work your next block. Ugh, crocheting with my glasses on. I really do not like it. Oh, I hate it when my computer does that. Makes me want to throw it across the room. Oh, no, yarn barf. No, no, we do not want yarn barf. The yellow was trying to pull out a big hunk. Yeah, Camille, I imagine it is interesting watching me since I am totally backwards. What brand is? It really doesn't show any brand. I bought this on Amazon, and it just says Vibrant Gradient Cake Yarn. And then this, yeah, that's basically, so it's kind of a generic yarn. But I will tell you, for a generic yarn, it is pretty darn nice. Now, this one does say colorful. And it says the Western region's yak cashmere. I don't quite think I believe that. No, it's not. There's no yak or cashmere in here. It's 60% cotton, 30 acrylic, and 10 wool. And it's, like I said, it's nice and soft. It feels good. So basically, it's just a China-made yarn. But not all China-made yarns are trash. Now, I haven't done a wash test on it. That will be the ultimate test, I think, as if it can wash up. Because I am just one of them people that I will throw my blankets in the washer pretty often. Oh, and here it goes again, trying to do more yarn barf. Yeah, cashmere, right, Camille? Yeah, if you're going to put that on the label, at least include some yak or some cashmere in it. You know, make us believe it, but no. I don't normally believe the labels on Chinese yarn, just for that reason. Just like I bought some yarn off of Temu that they advertised as quote unquote milk cotton. Well, it's basically just acrylic, 100%. But the colorway that I bought it in, I wanted for a scarf that I was making for a friend of mine because it was beautiful fire colors. And so it worked up into a gorgeous scarf. I have a scarf pattern that I bought back years ago that's called Feathers of Pharaoh. And they have some really cool scarf patterns on this site. The site is 10 hours or less, I think is what it's called. But they have gorgeous scarf and shawl patterns on that site, and I have bought several from them. Ugh, I cannot see through my glasses to do this. Oops. Hi, Rita. Thank you. Welcome in. Nice to see you. Yes, I have actually had a channel now for just a little over a year. I actually missed my channelversary. My channel started on September 6th. So here we are almost to October. So I decided what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until probably around October 6th and have a channelversary celebration. So it'll be a year and then some channelversary. Rita, I will have to say that I do have the channel. I have not been real great about putting out content, but I am hoping to do better. I have started doing live streams on the weekends now. I'm trying to do a Saturday and Sunday morning live, just a basic coffee, crochet, and chat, just to hang out with everybody. And I mean, I feel like all of you that I've been hanging out with on the YouTube streets over the last couple of years are my friends now. So it's really nice to, just get on here and just have a little bit more opportunity to hang out with my friends. So I am not super worried about getting to a point where I get monetized. I mean, it would be nice, but it's not something that I'm overly concerned with. I just enjoy hanging out here. So, Beth, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you do enjoy them. Well, I kind of was requested to start doing the weekend lives. A good friend here on the streets requested that I start it. So I was like, well, what? I'm not doing anything else. Why not? So I did decide to start doing the Saturday and Sunday morning live streams. Now, my live streams are a little early for the West Coast folks, but I noticed that a lot of them actually do make it in, which I really appreciate. I really appreciate all my subscribers, and well, thank you, Rita. I appreciate that. I like that you like my voice. I used to do customer service on the phone. I spent a lot of years taking phone calls for various different industries. But I did have a guy tell me one time that my voice was wasted doing customer service and that I needed to be doing like voiceovers or something like that, or working in radio, which I thought was a pretty nice compliment. One of these days, when I get brave and I get all my instruments moved out here like I want to, which I'm hoping will happen this weekend, I am going to get practice up some, and I will give you guys a little impromptu concert, I think. But don't look for it to happen next week, because I am way out of practice. Yes, when I do, I will do some singing. I'm thinking, since most of my instruments are folk type instruments, I learned a lot of mountain folk music. And so most of that is old enough that it is in the public domain now. So YouTube should not ding me for anything as far as copyright violations. And since I'm not monetized anyway, you know, that shouldn't be a big deal. But yeah, doing really old folk music from the 1800s, I should have no problem. I almost forgot, Camille, that the holiday challenge wasn't a secret challenge. I was going to get on you for saying what Linda's project was, but it wasn't a secret Tunisian thingy. I am finally almost done with my secret Tunisian thingy. I'm getting so close now, I can almost taste it. Well, I don't want to taste it because it's yarn. It probably doesn't taste good. Oh, come on, go through there. Jeez. Why you got to be difficult? I've gotten used to those nice Tunisian hooks that have a good sharp point on them. I think I could almost use those hooks to crochet all the time and be real happy. Yeah, Camille, I can't wait to have it done either. Then I won't feel guilty about crocheting on other things before it's done. You know, like starting a blanket. And actually, this is the second blanket because I do have Amber's Nature's Embrace blanket, which I am working on, um, kind of as a palette cleanser here and there when I need a break from Tunisian. And just to let you know, Amber, were you able to get your Nature's Embrace pattern posted on Ko-Fi? Well, Amber, we aren't even going to talk about how many other whips I have sitting, languishing in baskets and what have you. I'm not going to count my other whips, believe me. I'm sure I have more than 16. Oh, yay. So, anybody who is interested, Amber did a beautiful blanket design called the Nature's Embrace. And it's a very easy pattern repeat. Um, so I would recommend that you find her on Ko-Fi and grab it. She is giving it as a free download. However, if you are able and want to give her channel some support, you know, if you wanted to leave her a Ko-Fi donation, that would be really nice too. Especially considering that most designers, when it comes to blanket patterns, I mean, I don't think I've seen a blanket pattern for, unless it was on sale, I don't think I've seen a blanket pattern for much less than about $6. So Amber giving her pattern out for free is really nice. Starting the trio as your millionth one. Oh, Amber. Well, you might live long enough to get your whips all done. What do you think? I question if I will live long enough to get all mine done. I know I probably won't live long enough to use up all my yarn. Well, who knows? I might live to a grand old age. Women in my family tend to, well, other than my mother, but that's another story. But yeah, women in my, I have had great grandmas that lived to be over 100. So if I can tap into their survival rate, maybe I can repeat that. The only thing I worry about in my family is there is a lot of Alzheimer's. They did not diagnose my mother with it, but I mean, having been her caregiver and seeing how she changed, I am very sure that there was some type of dementia going on with her. And my grandmother on her side passed away with it. Two of my grandmother's brothers passed away with it. So Alzheimer's is definitely something that concerns me, which is one of the reasons that I do a lot of crocheting and other crafts, because I like to keep my mind really busy. I feel like that is one way that I can hopefully defeat that. My mom at one time was an absolutely amazing knitter, and seeing her lose that was just really heartbreaking. Whips is a four-letter word. Yes, it is. I'm almost to the end of this row, y'all. I would imagine this has probably got to be a little boring sitting here watching me just crochet these blocks. But we're just about ready to start in with our third color. Oops, that did not get a yarn over. Never boring when you chat. Oh, that's good. Cool, Amber. Yeah, I think now that I've got this one started, I'll probably alternate between Amber's blanket And this one, after I get my Tunisian thingy done, I'll alternate between the two blankets and get those both whipped up. And then go back to some of the whips that I've had sitting around for a while. Okay, so I'm down to the end of this row, and now I will just chain the two and pull my blue through. And just for this row only, I am pulling that through that third chain of that chain 3 that counted as the first double crochet. This is the only place that I will use, this first row is the only place that I will use a chain 3 as the first double crochet. As I've said, I do not like chain 3s as double crochets. I don't feel like they give enough stability. So what I do, now like I said in the row before, make sure you pull out your dropped yarn so that you're not catching it when you turn. What I like to do is, on rows where I'm going to have to do a double crochet block, I am going to chain 1 and turn, pull that initial chain kind of tight, and then go back into that same green stitch that I pulled the yarn through initially. Do a single crochet, work back into that single crochet, do a second single crochet right on top of the first one, and that gives you enough height normally that it pretty well matches up with a double crochet. And then I will just continue on the row as before. Now here is where the blanket will actually start to get to be fun, because now we're no longer having to fiddle around with that chain down at the bottom. We're just going to work our 3 double crochets into the top of the double crochets 2 rows below. Do our chain 3, work the block, catching that chain from the row just below inside our double crochets, and just continue across the block doing that. And once you get to this row, things will move much faster. You guys, it's kind of funny. I actually had to go back and rewatch my own tutorial, my own block party tutorial for this stitch, because I haven't done it in over a year. So I had to go watch my own tutorial to remember how to do this stitch again. Hey, Magic Frog! Welcome in. Hey, Breezy! Nice to see you here. Wow, thank you everybody that's coming in. I love seeing it. I will ask that you please, if you haven't already, drop your thummies. And if you're not a subscriber, please do go and subscribe. You know, Amber, it's a really good thing that we record stuff on YouTube because it does give us, I mean, I do take pictures of a lot of my work, and if it's something that I'm designing, a lot of times I will take pictures like row by row of what I'm doing, but having it on video is really nice because we can go back and recreate something that we've made and possibly forgotten. Is Linda leaving us? Oh, laundry. Okay. Well, you got to do what you got to do. Laundry is the least favorite of those things, I'm sure. Have a good day. I'm sure I will see you later on this evening. I want to invite you all to come over to Camille's channel. She usually does lives in the evening and sometimes at night, sometimes later on at night. Sometimes I end up falling asleep in the middle of them. But yeah, come and join us on Camille's channel. We have a blast over there, let me tell you. We have a core group of us that hang out in the chat, and we really do have a good time. And Camille does some really cool work too. So it's well worth your time to go and check out what she's got on the hook. Camille, you know what? I do. When I'm that tired, my body just says sleep and I'm sleeping. Sometimes I'll wake up later on in the middle of the night and see your end screen and go, oh man, I fell asleep. Yesterday, I did not get to sleep until around 3 o'clock in the morning. And I still ended up getting up by about 8:30, 9 o'clock. But yesterday evening, by the time yesterday evening rolled around, I was very tired. I never did actually eat supper. And I think, well, I went to sleep probably not too long after your live ended, Camille. So I was not up real late last night, that's for sure. I'm getting ready to have a color change here pretty soon. Rita, if I did that, it would end up falling on the floor somewhere, and I'd wake up and start looking for it and be real upset when I couldn't find my crochet hook. So usually when I know that I'm starting to get real sleepy, I put my crocheting away for the night. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll have a color change before this row ends. I don't know. If it doesn't change in this row, it'll definitely be in the next row. It's going to go to a lighter blue. My luck would be that I would, because a lot of times I crochet in bed. So my luck would be that I would be holding that crochet hook when I fell asleep, but then drop it and end up stabbing myself with it when I rolled over or something. That would be just my luck. So I don't generally let myself fall asleep with the crochet hook in hand. What I used to do, I have a Kindle Fire, and I like to read before I go to sleep at night. And I used to fall asleep. I would lay on my back and hold the Kindle up above me to read. Well, I'd get sleepy and fall asleep and drop the Kindle right on my face. Those Kindles are not soft. That really hurts. In fact, it's a wonder I haven't broken my nose doing that. I learned not to do that anymore. Yeah, Camille, I'm going to have to look that up. It does sound interesting. Who is the author on that? Yeah, dropping your phone on your face is uncomfortable too. Bear with me, guys. I've got to get a little better situated in my seat. The seat kind of rocks me forward, and it's starting to hurt. Let me find a piece of paper I can write on. Ava Morgan spelled with the Y. Okay. All right, I've got that written down. I will look her up after I'm done with the live stream. Bear with me. I'm going to pop up out of my seat for a second and sit back down in a little bit better spot. Ugh. Goodness. What did I just drop? Another crochet hook, of course. Right, knew what you were talking about, Camille. Yeah, I love science fiction and science fantasy, so I'm sure I will probably enjoy it. And here I am back to the other end. And on that last double crochet, just go through the 2 loops, pick up your first color. And what's really nice about this pattern is there will be no mistaking what color will be your next color, because when you work to the end of a row, your next color is going to be sitting there waiting on you. So all you have to do is drop the color you're working with, pick up the color that's waiting, and go back to work. On this row, I just do the chain 3, turn it, skip this block, and start working back over these chains. And I need to take a minute and untangle some yarns here because they are braiding themselves together as usual. Okay, good to go. Yeah, you know what? When you guys were talking about that book yesterday, I was like, okay, I've watched that show. I need to find the books because I really did enjoy the series. In fact, I wished that it had been longer, so I know that I would enjoy the books. Yeah, I binge watched Discovery of Witches and Serpent Queen. My go-to books besides science fiction and fantasy are murder mysteries. I love murder mysteries. And I have a favorite author. Um, her name is Christy Belcamino, and she does a series. Her character is Gia Santella. She is a badass, and so I really enjoy her books. Oh, but you're not done with crocheting into the chain, Amber, because you have to crochet your second row. See the yellow blocks above those, the green blocks? Those are also crocheted into that chain. So it isn't until you get to your third row that you're not crocheting into the chain anymore. Sorry to burst your bubble. Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. Yes, it is nice once you get past the foundation part, and you're not crocheting into that bottom chain anymore. It definitely gets much faster. Yes, foundation rows tend to be fiddly. And I think the more involved the stitch pattern is, the fiddlier they tend to be. Is fiddlier a word? I guess it is now. Oh, there's something I don't hear in my neighborhood often. We've got a train horn today. Wonder if somebody's being an idiot down there by the tracks. That's usually the only time the trains blow their horn. Okay, Camille. Yeah, go pick up your Happy Mail. I'll be looking forward to seeing what you got. Love you too. See you later. Have a good rest of the day. You and Ryan enjoy his day off. I am coming up real close to 2 hours here, so I think once I hit the 2 hour mark, it will probably be time for me to go as well. The hubby will be getting home, so. I feel bad for him having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to leave for work. But I'll tell you, I love the fact that he gets home about, usually about 1:40 is about the latest. And yeah, I love it that he gets out of work so early, because one, if I have something that I want to do after he gets home, we're a one-car family, so um, if I have something I want to do, I usually end up doing it in the afternoon. So having him getting out of work that early is kind of nice. And two, if we have something we want to do together, like, we take the dog out to the state park and go for a run. Well, I don't run, but the dog runs. Um, yeah, gives us time in a day to be able to do those things. I think technically we'd probably even have time to go up to the lake if we wanted to. We don't usually go up to the lake that late in the day, but we could. Exactly, Amber. That is very true. Although, I will have to say, even though, well, and maybe being a college town is part of it, we don't have a terrible rush hour. Um, and I think because we don't, I mean, we do have some industries here, but most of the industrial stuff is kind of out on the outskirts of town, and more or less away from like the shopping and dining district. So if I have to go shopping or something like that after he gets home, even if I go around 2:30, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, our traffic is not that bad. And plus, I mean, South Bend is a fairly small city. I mean, having lived in the Chicago area where there was really traffic, um, driving around here is super easy. And then there's also the fact that where I live, I am pretty much 15 minutes from basically anything I want to go and do. Apart from the state park is like a half an hour drive for us, but anything that I need to do, like going shopping, going to get something to eat, any of that, basically 15 minutes drive max. Now, I'm going to show you guys something. I'm getting ready to switch back over to this light yellow. And of course, I'm going to be carrying it up the side, but I ended this row with a chain 3. So what happens if I switch colors, because I ended the row with the chain 2. If I switch colors to make this my chain 3, it's not really connected well down here, right? So what I'm going to do, what I do in this case is I go into that blue row and go into the top of that stacked single crochet, pull my loop up through there, and then pull it up into the green. And then I chain my 1 and turn and work the stacked single crochet for my first double crochet. That way it is connected down into the stitch below. And then I just start working across the row. I should have pulled that green underneath the yellow, but I didn't. Oh well. I wonder if I'm going to get a... Well, I actually kind of have a color change here in this yellow. It's gone to a really, really light. It's kind of hard to see the difference here, but this one here is a lot lighter yellow than this first row of yellows. Ew, yuck, Amber. I hate... Well, that's one nice thing about being here. We really don't have any reason to get out on the interstate. Now, we do have Interstate 80 that runs through, but I mean, I don't generally go anywhere that I need to take 80 for, so yeah, I don't worry much about what the interstate is doing. The only time that we really do take the interstate is there's a park up on Lake Michigan that I like to go to collect rocks called Pilgrim Haven. And to go up there, it is easier to take the interstate. Although I really do like taking the state routes better. It's much more scenic. but it's much faster to do the interstates. So usually what I do is I drive up to the park on the interstate and then drive home, back home doing the state routes. Hello, Jeanette. You are here just about in time for me to say goodbye. If you are interested in the trio blanket and how I do the stitch pattern, I do a swatch at the beginning of this video that shows the basic stitch pattern. So if you're interested in learning it, after the video is over, you are more than welcome to go ahead and watch the replay. But it is nice of you to stop in. I-80? Okay. Oh, so I could jump on I-80 and go from your house to my house, or my house to your house. Cool. If I ever want to make a road trip, I'll remember that. I have never been to Nebraska. The furthest west I've been, well, I mean, the furthest west I've been is Texas. But as far as up in the Plains states, the furthest west I've been is Kansas. I did live in Wichita for about half a minute. Very windy out there, but the sky was amazing. I have never been any place that you could see so many stars. Yeah, I know I-80 does go out quite a ways west. Wichita? Yeah. I liked Wichita. I mean, it wasn't a bad place. But there was just stuff going on in my life at the time that I ended up going back to Michigan. Yeah. The person that I was trying to get away from in Michigan found out where I was and threatened to come out to Kansas and shoot me. So I figured, what the heck, I might as well go back to Michigan. The funny thing is, he was a fool enough that he left messages on the answering machine threatening me. So we did turn those into the police. I don't know if anything was ever done, but at least the police were aware. Thank you, Lori. Yeah, it was a rough time in my life. But, you know, they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I mean, it did give me some level of PTSD, but at the same time, I do feel like having survived it, I did come out on the other side stronger. So, yay! I'm glad, Amber. I can't wait to see yours. Okay, you guys, we are at 2 hours. The hubby is going to walk through the door any minute now, so I think I'm going to go ahead and call this done for today. Now you can see where the color has changed on that yellow. See how much lighter this one is? It's more like a butter color than a yellow at this point. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, doesn't it? That is kind of cool. That's a neat comparison, Beth. Right, Amber? That's true. I was thinking that if you worked with like a gradient yarn, if you could get your gradient to either be working opposites, or even if you had 3 different colors of gradient and all worked them from light to dark, and then do another cake of it and go from dark back out to light, that would be really, really cool. So, anyway, thanks so much to all of you for coming and hanging out with me today. I hope that many of you will give this pattern a try. It is a lot of fun. If you've got the yarn laying around to do it, you know, it is really worth the time to make a blanket with this. Like I said, it works up really fast. It's really easy. So, yeah. Yes, anybody who has not left a thumbie already, on your way out, if you could do that, I'd love it. And if you haven't subscribed to me yet, please do. I think just about everybody that's in here, as far as I can tell, are already subscribers. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And I will be seeing you again. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday. And I will probably continue working on this on Saturday. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Do what makes you happy. And I will see you again real soon. Bye-bye now.